Hey, thank you so much for joining us online today. We believe that God wants to use this message to speak directly to you. And so as you listen, we encourage you to have an open mind and an open ear to what God is saying. As well, you can access the sermon notes from this message on our website and on our church app.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of What Child Is This? I do pray that all your preparations are going well and you're getting things handled. Typically, it's this weekend that people get everything wrapped up. I have not wrapped one gift yet, but I better get busy. I'm so grateful for a church that is accepting and loving and goes out of their way to make people feel special. Our mission statement here at Lakeshore is this: we build people into fully devoted followers of Christ, meaning that we want to encourage you in Christ, to help you all that we can, to build your marriage and your family, your faith, in what ways that we can. But the journey of development is not always the road or path that you would choose for yourself. It's different. This journey, how you got where you are, how to get out of where you are, how to get closer to God. So that's what Christmas messages should be about, and today's message as well, as we talk about the journey, the Christmas journey today. So I want to read out of Luke chapter 2, the Christmas story. Here we go. And it came to pass in those days that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus. I want to pause there and let you know that Caesar Augustus was the stepchild. He was the stepson of Julius Caesar, real person in history. The name Augustus, though, had never been tagged to an emperor before, and it means Lord. In other words, the Senate was saying, hey, we want to make our own God. Have you ever thought about that? We think these are just names. No, they're titles. So he made this decree that everybody would have to go back to their hometown so that a census could be taken. So the census first took place while Quirinius was governing Syria. Real person in history, by the way. So all went to be registered, everyone to his own city. Joseph went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David. It makes sense, okay? To be registered with his wife Mary and his betrothed wife, who was with child. So it was that while they were there, the days were completed for her to be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling cloths, laid him in a manger because there was no room for them in the inn. We'll continue the story in Luke 2:8. Now there were in the same country shepherds living out in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. And behold, an angel of the Lord stood before them. And the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were greatly afraid. Then the angel said to them, do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy. As I studied the words here, I came across something interesting. Good tidings of great joy. The word joy, it means calm delight. Isn't that interesting? Calm delight. Not frantic, not frenzied. It's just calm. It's like family around the living room, around the dinner table, around a campfire. Calm delight. Let that settle in your soul in this time that we tend to get way too busy for ourselves and those that we love. Great joy, which will be to not just you, but all people. For there is born to you this day in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this will be the sign to you. You will find a babe wrapped in swaddling cloths, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. So it was when the angels had gone away from them into heaven that the shepherds said to one another, let us now go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has come to pass, which the Lord has made known to us. And they came with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the babe lying in a manger. Now when they had seen him, they made widely known the saying which was told them concerning this child. And all those who heard it marveled at those things which were told them by the shepherds. But Mary kept these things and pondered them in her heart. Then the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things which they had heard and seen as it was told them. Heavenly Father, I pray that you open our hearts and minds to new dimensions of your grace and goodness. Father, would you speak a direct word to everybody in here today, whether watching online or here personally. Father, I pray that whatever dilemma they're facing, tragedy they've come through, difficulty they're at, Lord, whatever dead ends that they're facing, I pray your intervention. Lord, would you send help down? Would you dispatch heaven on our behalf? And Lord, bring a miracle in our life. And would you fill the empty places of our hearts with your Holy Spirit? In Jesus' name, amen. The journey. I've had many journeys in my life. I grew up in Arkansas, grew up in a little bitty town in Arkansas. Didn't travel out of the town much at all. There is a town next to us called Little Rock, but we hardly ever went there. I mean, why leave Benton, Arkansas to go anywhere when you have everything in Benton? As a kid, I remember we had Dairy Queen, and it was much later that McDonald's came in. But to this day, you can go down Military Parkway and you can see what used to be the old Dairy Queen. We used to ride our bikes there. It's where we went after baseball games to get an ice cream. It's so many things along the journey of my childhood that have meaning. And it's just more than meaning. It connects me to people. It connects me to the culture in which I was raised. And culture is so important because culture is the value. It's what you feel when you walk into a room. It's what your family uniquely has. It's what you do. It's what you don't do. And you don't always get the privilege of knowing the culture before you enter the room. And that's why on a day like today at church, it can cause some anxiety because you don't know when to stand, what to do, what's their culture. But I've always prayed, Lord, may it be your presence that is our main occupation, our culture. So there are three journeys I want to take a look at in these passages. And the first journey is this. It's the journey to Bethlehem because of what Caesar Augustus said. Mary, although she's ready to have a baby, they have to travel all the way from where they were in Galilee. That's a long way. I've been there to Galilee. And it's an 80-mile journey. And back then, the fastest thing they had that you could use was a donkey. And 80 miles on a donkey to have a baby? Come on, you're the God of all creation. I'm sure Mary was saying, what's up with this? You could get me there much quicker. You're gonna show up and greet a bunch of shepherds in a field. Lord, give me some of that love. But it was 80 miles. And then when they arrived, the inn, there was no room. It was destined that the birth of Christ would be in what was known as a manger, that we've kind of tagged it as a religious word. But in true vernacular, manger means feed trough. It's what cows ate of. It's what sheep ate out of. And that's what Jesus was born in. a manger. And the little shacks that we put up for our manger scenes, well, there wasn't a lot of wood there in the Bethlehem area. And it was noted that most probably where he was born was like a little cave in the side of a hill, which you could see all over the place, having been to Bethlehem. And I remember when they took me to see the Nativity at the Church of the Nativity, where purportedly Jesus was born. Out of all the places I went, I just had this feeling, it's not here it happened. It happened elsewhere, I felt so strongly in my heart. And you see, Jesus comes across humble. That's why he appeared, the angels appeared to shepherds when he appeared in Bethlehem. It was a journey from Galilee to Bethlehem. And it was there, so many things took place. But I've wondered often, God, why'd you do it that way? Why did you get me there by taking me here? Why was there Caesar Augustus? He thought he was just putting together a census, yet what he was doing, God took that and turned the heart of a king to bring Mary into perfect position and place for her to have that baby. Look at a prophecy that came 700 years prior to Christ being born. But you, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, though you're little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth are from of old, from everlasting. You see, you can't really put a time on just when exactly he was born, because he always was. It was that he chose to step down into humanity, and God left the riches of heaven to come and experience the greatest pain, the greatest agony, frustration, everything that you and I could face. In fact, Hebrews chapter 4, verse 16 says this, that he experienced everything. We have not a high priest who has not been touched with the feeling of our infirmities. In other words, he suffered it all, but yet without sin. That unblemished lamb was given for you and me. And that's why it says, therefore, come boldly to the throne of grace, whereby we might be able to obtain mercy and find the grace to help us in time of need. On Monday night, we were having dinner with friends when we received a text from our son, Bradley. And he said, I'm in the emergency room. And he sent us the pin. So Bradley is 23 years of age now, but he still wants his mommy. So then he said, Brad, he's at this emergency center. We knew where it was in downtown Dallas, so we got in the truck, headed that way. I came up to the side of the emergency room, and it's not a safe area. I said, Denise, get out here in the light. I'm gonna go park, and I'll meet you inside. So she got out, went into the emergency room. I found a parking spot, walked back over to the entrance, only to be told, your wife can go in, but you have to wait here. And it's a little room, glass. I mean, I can see the people checking you in. I can see the people sitting in the emergency room. And I can see people who are trying to get into the emergency room behind me. But it's all glassed in. And while I'm there, I'm trying to see Bradley and see how he's doing, when in rushed a gang of young people. And you could tell it was most likely a gang. And one of their gang members had been shot in the stomach. Now, being the only one in the little glassed-in room, there's a part of me that didn't know what to do. The people behind the glass looked at me like I was to run. But the bigger part of me saw this boy that couldn't have been more than 14 years old. It's holding his stomach. And he said, I've been shot. I've been shot. And he asked, am I going to die? Now, all the other guys, they're just, get him help, get him help, get him help. And this young man thought, this is it. And I'm in that moment, and I'm a shepherd. And oh God, Lord, would you touch him? God, would you heal him? I mean, out of all the kids in there, he looked least like a thug of anyone. I mean, just precious, beautiful child. God, would you help him? And they rushed in. They took this young man off to a waiting room, and they took the gang members off to some other area. And I'm just, oh God. Oh God. All of my children have been on journeys. You've been on journeys, and many times you say, well, why'd they go through that? Why did they face that? Why could they not have avoided this? Lord, what? It doesn't make sense. They seem to have gotten a free pass, but what about my family? God, they're good at heart. Why did they have to face that? Why did they have to go through that? And I'm observing humanity in this Baylor ER room and thinking to myself, people are hurting so badly. God, we need more of your light. And God, if we could get some of this into that, church, into places of true pain, heartbreak, anguish, drought, hunger, disease. Lord, if we could just do that, would you show me how to do that? And I don't know what that journey is fully going to look like, other than I would be so honored to take you along with me on that journey. Let's help some people. Let's help people come to Christ. So the journey to Bethlehem is 80 miles. And the why? Well, it's because it was prophesied 700 years ago, the place that Christ would be born. And I believe that God is speaking over your life, that there are some convergence zones coming. In other words, to connect you to the right circumstances and situations, to the right people. I was reading through some text maybe a couple weeks ago, and it was talking about addiction. And this person that's writing the article, they said the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. They said the opposite of addiction is connection. And they go on to say that this world system, and this is a secular article, the world system is fashioned in such a way to disconnect you from people and to connect you with things that aren't real. And that's what's happening in our world today. The disconnection from family, relationships, church, faith. And God, I pray connection. And that's what happened in Bethlehem, that there was connection there. It's nice to be able to go to a place and they know your name, a restaurant, they know what you like. But can you imagine Mary and Joseph coming into Bethlehem? They knew no one, but God was there in the form of a baby. So here's the next journey. It's the journey of Christ. And we think that journey began in that little enclave in a manger with Joseph and Mary in Bethlehem. But it was long before. This is what Christ did. I went over this verse last week. I want to bring it back to you. For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sakes he became poor, that you through his poverty might become rich. What a beautiful scripture. Grace. God's riches at Christ's expense is one of the most clarifying of definitions of this concept of something that God gives you, not because you've done something to earn it, not because you've been good or that you're Yeah, you deserve anything? It's because you're his child. There's this beautiful passage in Romans 5:8. God demonstrates his love toward us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. This exchange that was made, just absolutely beautiful. So this Christmas, as you typically go down the same road you always go down, it's called tradition. There are certain ways you manage Christmas. You go places, you do things. I want you to remember that it's all about the connection with God and connection with people that matters more than anything. Take a road trip with your family. Go someplace special. Do something with them. And don't leave God out of the mix. Bring him into it. This journey of Christ. Charles Wesley penned thousands of hymns. This is one of my favorites. Hark, the herald angels sing. Look at how powerful these lyrics are. And this is the last verse of the song. Hail the heaven-born Prince of Peace. Hail the Son of Righteousness. Hail means to praise. Light and life to all he brings, risen with healing in his wings. Mild he lays his glory by. Again, that's where he left heaven, came to earth. That's called the incarnation. Born that man no more may die, born to raise the sons of earth, born to give them second birth. Hark, the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. So powerful. For our Christmas candlelight services, the worship team here at Lakeshore has written a hymn. And it's one of the most powerful I've heard in a long time. And I'm so honored that the Christmas candlelight services are the first time that they're going to share those in a community format. Candles, there's something about lighting those candles, being together with family and singing to God. Worship choruses. I do hope you can come out, bring your family, but would you invite someone who may not otherwise get invited? You see, the third journey I want to talk about is the journey of these people called shepherds that we've lost context with, because really, I mean, other than pastors, do you know any shepherds? Real lambs, real sheep. Anyone? Just, you know someone who has sheep? Not many of us. Because God chose to send his angels to these individuals out in the field who didn't have the best reputation. Look at this. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God something to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant or a baby, being born in the likeness of men and being found in human form. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. It went to shepherds, humble individuals who they had no title. They were misfits, they were outcasts, that shepherds could not even testify in a court of Jewish law because they were that low in their society, very low. But yet they're the ones that God chose to show up and bring forth this great announcement. There's a reason why. The angel had to say, do not be afraid. Because when you're about to have a God moment, one of the first things that will hit you is fear. Because the enemy doesn't want you to connect. He wants you to flee. He wants you to self-sabotage. He wants to keep you isolated, keep you feeling like you're the only one going down this road. No one else knows my journey, but God does know your journey. He humbled himself. I think anytime you talk about your children, it's hard. Sometimes family is the most difficult of all to reach out to minister to. I don't know why. And I pray for all my children, but I pray a lot for my son. And when we'd received the phone call that he was at the emergency room, it didn't dawn on me at that point that God may be in this. I was just worried about him. It was a basketball injury. He tore his ACL tendon. He's going to have surgery in the new year. But my son, Bradley, something was happening when I was on the other side of the glass. When I was in this little room isolated from my son was watching everything from the other side of the room. I missed him altogether. But afterwards, I had gone around to get the truck and pulled it around so that he could get in. And the guy can hop on one leg very good. I was too cheap to buy crutches at that point. But anyway, he hops in the front seat of my truck. And rather than being deflated, he said, "Dad, you know the boy that was shot?" I said, "Yes, son." "Did you see him?" "Yes, I saw him. And I talked to the doctor who was taking care of him. And the doctor said he's going to live." I'm on one side of the glass. My son's on the other side of the glass. And we're believing God for the same thing. It wasn't about a knee at that point. It was about a young man who needed life. I hope to be able to find out more about his family. His mother came in during the time I was still there. I just prayed. But it could be that this journey that you're on, just like Mary and Joseph, just like God stepping down from heaven, and just like these shepherds converging in on a point in time and history, this zone of connection. Mary traveled 80 miles. God traveled from eternity. The shepherds, about 2 miles. I'm not so sure how far you're going to have to travel to find connection with God. But one thing I do know, you're just one prayer away. I know you could have been in church all your life and still be at a desperate place. You need God today. I want you to bow your head, close your eyes. And this is not a bait and switch or a trick. In the privacy of this moment, but before you and God, if you are in a desperate place right now, no one looking around, that you're in a desperate place, would you look up at me right now? You're at a desperate place. Just look up at me. Let my eyes meet yours. Heavenly Father, I ask you for miracles. And Lord, that road that seems to be a road to destruction, God, would you create a pathway of life? Bring them life, Lord. Help them, whatever it is, whether it's a physical condition in their health, whether it's an emotional situation in their heart, whether it's a financial situation, whatever the case may be. Father, may you bring people together at that place of your presence and bring healing, hope, and a lot of love. And finally today, if you're here and you've never made Christ the Lord of your life, it's called the Romans Road. We've all blown it and messed up. The wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. If you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. All that call upon his name will be saved. If that's your prayer today, just lift a hand up to heaven. Just lift it up right now. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know that I've met you, but I know God's doing miracles in your lives right now. I just feel it so strongly. Who else? I was looking right. I want to make Jesus the Lord of my life. That's my prayer. That's my prayer. Let's pray together. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for sending your son Jesus to heal me, to die for me. Today, I receive him as my Lord and Savior. I ask you to forgive me of my sins and fill me with your spirit, your presence, your heart. Fill me with the culture of heaven. Give me that calm delight, that joy, Lord. Thank you for hearing my prayer, for saving my life. Today, I give you mine, all of my life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Hey, wherever you're watching from, thank you so much for joining us online today. If you made a decision to follow Christ, we would love to send you a brand new Bible and a devotional guide to help you in your new journey of faith. To get these resources or to submit a prayer request, fill out our digital communication card by texting Lakeshore to 94,000. We'd love to celebrate what God is doing in your life and help you with your next steps. Thanks again for joining us online. We hope to see you soon.